Hi everyone, welcome to Harsha Trainings channel. Please subscribe to our new Harsha Trainings channel. In this video, today we are going to discuss about top 10 Kubernetes interview questions with Ram. So hope you will gain some knowledge on Kubernetes after seeing this video. We'll continue to the interview session now. Hello Ram.
Hi.
Today in this session we will see top 10 Kubernetes interview questions.
Yeah.
Shall we start?
Sure.
What is Kubernetes and features of Kubernetes?
Fine. So Kubernetes is a orchestration tool, right, which was introduced by Google, which is a Google product. Okay. Yeah. So Kubernetes is very advanced tool, very secure tool. Currently, most of the digital applications, so project teams are hosting on Kubernetes because Kubernetes is having scalable features and auto scaling, auto healing, and so daemon sets, different advanced features are there, right? So when we host any application on Kubernetes, without any manual intervention, it will manage. So whenever application is getting more hits, so automatically Kubernetes will increase the resources, which is nothing but auto scaling, right? So whenever any pod is down, any resource is down, automatically Kubernetes will monitor and it will recreate the failure pod, failure resource. Fine. So currently, so Kubernetes is very hot. So in the market, so which is very hot topic, right? Yeah. So Kubernetes is a very advanced tool, very core tool.
Okay, next question. What are K8s?
Yeah. So K8s, when we talk about K8s, it is a other term of Kubernetes, right? It is like people will call it as Kubernetes, K8s, K8. So different names. It is a other term of Kubernetes.
Okay, we move on to next question.
Yeah.
What are the main differences between Docker and Kubernetes?
Fine. So difference between Docker and Kubernetes. When we talk about Docker, Docker is a container tool. Kubernetes is a orchestration tool. What is orchestration? So which will manage all the nodes, all the domains, right? Yeah. Kubernetes is having advanced features, right? Like auto healing, auto scaling, scalable applications. It will manage. But Docker is not having clustering concept. Docker is having like Docker will support 95,000 containers. Docker will support 95,000 containers. Kubernetes support 3 lakhs containers, right? And also Docker, in Docker, configuring cluster is very difficult and handling cluster also very difficult in Docker. So when we talk about Kubernetes, in Kubernetes, by using single command, we can configure the cluster and we can easily manage the cluster, right? And also, so Docker introduced in 2013. So immediately Kubernetes introduced in 2014 because so Docker is not having so auto scaling, auto healing not available in the Docker. That is why Kubernetes introduced auto scaling, auto healing. So currently, so compare with the Docker, Kubernetes is very advanced tool.
Okay. Next question. What are the main components of Kubernetes architecture?
Fine. So main components in Kubernetes, we have two major components, main components, which are like Kubernetes master and Kubernetes node, right? So these are the main components. So why we are talking about master and node? So because in Kubernetes, without cluster, we cannot configure Kubernetes. So in cluster, we'll be having master, also node servers.
Okay, next question. What is a pod in Kubernetes?
Yeah, pod. So when we talk about pod, so pod is the main component of Kubernetes. So pod is nothing but it is a atomic unit of scheduling. Pod is nothing but atomic unit of scheduling. What is atomic unit of scheduling? So where we host our applications. For example, in Docker, what is atomic unit of scheduling? Which is a container where we host our application. In virtualization, what is atomic unit of scheduling? So VM is the atomic unit of scheduling. In Kubernetes, what is the atomic unit of scheduling? Which is a pod. So where we host our applications, where we host our scalable application, which is nothing but pod.
Okay, next question. What is the role of kube schedule in Kubernetes?
Fine. When we talk about kube scheduling, right? So which is a very important component is Kubernetes, kube scheduling. So when developer deploy the application on Kubernetes, right? So that is directly hit to the API server in Kubernetes. So API server will monitor and it will hand over to kube scheduler. So kube scheduler will distribute the equal load on node servers, right? So kube scheduler will act as a load balancer. It will equally balance the load on node servers.
Okay, sir. Next question. What are ETCD?
Yeah. So etcd, right? Etcd also one of the core component in Kubernetes master. So where we save our configurations, where we hold our configurations. It can be Kubernetes cluster configuration, node configuration, pod configuration. Everything will be stored in the etcd component. So whenever any failures happen in the Kubernetes, so Kubernetes master will get the information from etcd component, right? So etcd hold the all the cluster configuration, node configuration, so all the configurations.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
What are daemon sets?
Fine. So daemon sets. So when we talk about daemon sets are nothing but a group of pods, set of pods, right? So why we require set of pods? For example, so when we deploy any application on Kubernetes cluster, so we can deploy on multiple pods at a time, because if any one pod is down, application will not be down. So pods will manage the application. So whenever application is getting more hits, automatically pods will manage the resources, right? So daemon sets means like pod sets, number of pods we can create, and we can configure as a set of pods. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What is the Kubernetes control manager?
Controller manager. Yes, Kubernetes controller manager is a important component in Kubernetes master. So in Kubernetes cluster, so majorly, so nodes will be fail, pods will be fail, containers will be fail. So Kubernetes controller manager always monitor the cluster. If any failures are happened, any components are down, any components are restarted, right? So Kubernetes controller manager will monitor and it will recreate the failure pod to maintain your application up and running fine.
Okay, next
Yeah.
question. Explain cluster and what are federated clusters?
Fine. So basically what is cluster? So when we talk about cluster, it's a group of node servers. So cluster is nothing but group of node servers. They will act as a single unit to maintain your application up and running fine. So why we are talking about cluster? Because currently most of the digital applications we are hosting on cluster, right? So cluster will manage the entire application. So what are the uses of cluster? So basically, so cluster will manage load balance and fault tolerance. Load balancing means application load balance, right? Fault tolerance means if any pod is failure, if any node is failure, so other nodes will manage the application. So that is cluster. And when we talk about so federated cluster, right? So federated cluster means group of clusters together we can configure as a single cluster. Virtually we can configure. So that virtual clusters manage the applications. For example, we have Europe cluster, US cluster, APAC cluster. These three clusters you can configure as a single cluster. So three different regions can be managed using the federated cluster.
Thank you, Ram. So we'll continue the same session in next videos on Docker and remaining tools also. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this video. If you have any doubts on Kubernetes or if you face any interview questions recently on Kubernetes, please post it in comment box. We'll definitely discuss in next video. Please subscribe to our Harsha Training news channel and press the bell icon to get latest updates. Next DevOps batch will start from August 3rd, morning 11 to 1 p.m. IST. This is fast track course. So please call to this number if you want to join with Harsha Trainings. And next regular batch will start from August 31st and timings will be morning 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. IST. And next Pega batch will start from August 17th and timings will be morning 7 to 8 a.m. IST. If you have any doubts, please post it in comment box or please call to the scrolling number. Thank you.